Thank you. Now we move to the Unified Government Commissioners from the 5th District and the 7th District. And we will ask for opening remarks. First from Eleanor Clark, a challenger. Eleanor?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
We can.
Oh, good. Okay. Thank you. First, I want to thank the host for inviting me to this event. My name is Eleanor Morales Clark, and I was born in Wyandotte County. I am a pro-life Christian and attend Open Door Baptist Church. I grew up in Armidale and have been a lifelong resident of Kansas City, Kansas. I attended John J. Ingalls Elementary School and Wyandotte High School. I graduated. And as an adult, I attended the fire science course at the Kansas City Community College. I currently reside in Western Wyandotte County. For several years, I worked as a receptionist at Kansas City, Kansas Code Enforcement. In the final 6 years of my career, I worked as the secretary for the Chief of Fire Prevention at the Kansas City, Kansas Fire Department. Although I have actively participated in the political process for a long time, this is my first run for a political office. The reason why I chose to run now rather than in the past is that I have spent the last several years caring for a disabled spouse, and being recently widowed has both provided me the time to run for office and has also quickly revealed the need for me as a Christian to stand up against the high property taxes and utility taxes that are pushing widows, widowers, and the elderly out of their lifetime homes in Wyandotte County. Although I do not have all of the answers on how to reduce taxes, I do have enough experience in working for the unified government to know that there are specific areas where we can work more efficiently to reduce spending in order to provide some relief from the crushing property tax and utility tax that brings such incredible stress to our fixed income seniors and eventually drives them out of their homes. If elected, this is the guiding principle I will operate under. If you agree with me that Wyandotte County needs to do more to respect our seniors and not tax them out of their homes, then I, Eleanor Morales Clark, ask for your vote on November 2nd. Thank you.
Next, we will hear from the incumbent in the 5th District, Mike Kane. Mike?
Thanks for having us tonight. Clarification, a lot of people don't realize I was raised at 222 North Thorpe, down at Thorpe and Central, in a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house by 9 brothers and sisters and sometimes my grandmother. My wife was raised across from the Old Donnelly College. We've been married for 43 years. We have 2 kids. Both of them live out here in Piper with us, which I'm extremely excited. I am the senior commissioner. I've been there for 16 years. I am by far the most vocal, and I think the district wants someone that's going to speak up for the people. And for the 16 years, I have voted the way the district has said so. It's not my vote, it's their vote. And it's very important that when staff shows us something, and if the district doesn't agree, then somebody has to say, no, we don't want that. Now, I did run on pro-growth, and I'm not going to apologize for what's happened out west. We moved out here in 1990 to get out here, and there was very little when we first got out here. Immediately, we got wrapped up in the community, and I started coaching soccer at the high school. Then later, 16 years ago, I was asked to run for commissioner because they wanted someone that would listen, care, passionate about what they're doing, and move forward. Thank you.
Okay. Our next candidate will be Chuck Stites, who is running for the Unified Commissioner from the 7th District.
Well, first off, I'd like to thank you and Kansas City, Kansas Community College Business West for hosting this forum and giving me the opportunity to speak. I am Chuck Stites, and I am running for District 7 County Commissioner. I am a lifelong resident of Wyandotte County. I've attended Bonner Springs High School and Kansas City, Kansas Community College. I've been married for 33 years. My wife and I continue to live in Wyandotte County, where we have raised our son, and I am past president of Kiwanis West and Merle, as you know, of Business West. I retired as a Kansas City, Kansas police officer. My son is carrying on the tradition of serving the community as fourth generation law enforcement officer. I am currently in the second term as city councilman in Edwardsville, where I have been committed to reducing taxes. I am proud to say that we have reduced our mill levy 6 years in a row without cutting services. I am also committed to rebuilding our infrastructure. As commissioner, I would strive to bring innovative development and jobs without the tax burden being placed on the already overtaxed citizens of District 7. This is why I encourage you to vote Stites November 2nd. Thank you.
Now we will move to Jim Walters, the incumbent. Jim?
Thank you very much. I am also a lifelong resident of Wyandotte County, and I've been privileged to serve the folks of District 7 for the past 8 years. I'm an elder and trustee at my church, the First Christian Church of Bonner Springs. I've recently been elected to the Bonner Springs High School Hall of Fame and have been appointed a distinguished alum from the University of Kansas School of Architecture. And these awards are mostly for my public service, which those organizations have acknowledged. When I decided to run for office, I had several goals. I wanted to create new and sustainable development in Wyandotte County. I spent my career in the development business, providing cities opportunities for development across the country. I also wanted to create jobs in our community so that the rising tide could lift all boats. And I wanted to make Wyandotte County a more attractive place to live and encourage people to move here. And I think we're making progress on all of those goals in the 8 years that I've been in office. Investment in Wyandotte County is at record levels. New jobs are being created by these investments, and the population of Wyandotte County is actually growing after years of decline. And I believe we're now positioned to attract more higher paying jobs and continue to make Wyandotte County an even more attractive place to live. I'm also proud of the cooperation between Bonner Springs and Edwardsville and Kansas City, Kansas that we've experienced during my tenure. District 7 is Edwardsville, Bonner Springs, and Kansas City, Kansas, roughly in equal parts. And the three cities have cooperated on several things, most notably the K32 corridor study, and as well as the implementation of the Union Pacific Quiet Zone, which is under construction right now. As a commissioner, I've consistently advocated for lower taxes, most recently this summer at our budget hearings, but could not get enough support to prevail. Whenever we have an 8% increase in residential assessments with an inflation rate of 2 or 3%, I have always thought it should automatically trigger a review of the mill levy. Other people think differently. But this is going to be a continuing effort of mine as I strive to provide tax relief to all of our residents. I appreciate the support over the past 8 years and ask for the privilege of representing you again. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we will move to the questions and start with Mary Rupert and Commissioner Walters. Mary?
Thank you. Do you support a proposed ordinance for a safe and welcoming community, including the municipal ID program for workers and also the ban on law enforcement turning over information about undocumented individuals to ICE?
Yes, I do. And in fact, I've met with the ACLU in person twice to discuss this proposal and have committed my support to it in both of those occasions. I believe we can work out whatever differences we have regarding the wording related to helping federal officials. I think that's that's not a significant departure. A lot of people are using that as a reason to not be for this proposal, but I supported it and I've always had. Thank you.
Okay. Chuck Stites, your response.
Yeah, repeat the question, please.
Yes. Do you support a proposed ordinance for a safe and welcoming community? And that would include the municipal ID program for undocumented workers and also a ban on law enforcement turning over information about undocumented people to ICE.
I will tell you, as an officer, as a police officer who has worked diligently to protect people's rights and to do the right thing with working with outside agencies, whether it be federal agencies, state agencies, or local, I think that it is at the utmost importance that we make sure that we work very well with them. Whatever information can be provided, that we should be open with the information to make sure that we are doing the right things for the citizens of Wyandotte County.
Okay. Mike Kane, your response to the question.
And I've said this before, first of all, I think that those folks that are pushing this should start a GoFundMe account so they can educate the people all across the community. And what I mean by that is go to neighborhood meetings, go to school board meetings, and share the information with everyone, because what might work on one side of town might not work on the other. But in order to give the right answer, and in order for the vote that would support or not support something, we would have to educate all of Wyandotte County. And I think that's very important, that they go out there and they say, here it is to this school district. They go out to this neighborhood group. They go out here. They go out everywhere in Wyandotte County they can and say, here it is, and then bring it a vote to the citizens.
Eleanor Clark, your response to this question.
Yes, would you repeat the question?
Yes. Do you support a proposed ordinance for a safe and welcoming community? And that would include a municipal ID program for undocumented workers and also a ban on law enforcement turning over information about undocumented individuals to ICE.
Thank you. I only have one answer, and that was based pretty much on the safe and welcome. So as a Christian, I respect the value of all people, to include the unborn. As a legal citizen of Kansas and the U.S., I also support the laws of my state and my county. If by safe and welcome you mean to be treated with dignity and respect, but to follow the laws of our state and country, I do believe in safe and welcome. If by safe and welcome you meant to ignore the laws of our state and trample the U.S. Constitution, I don't agree with that. I am the granddaughter of Mexican immigrants that came to this country legally. They followed the legal process, and I'm proud that they did. Sadly, the lack of enforcement by federal agencies has put us in this position, and they need to solve it. In the meantime, as an elected official, I will be compassionate to all, but I will also be required by my oath of office to follow the laws of Kansas and the U.S. Constitution. Neither I nor anyone in elected office in this state or country has the authority to do otherwise. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move to the next question from J.D. Rios, and we will start with Eleanor Clark. J.D.
Good evening. Thank you for your participation, and it's an honor to be able to ask you some questions in this important local election. I got a compound question. I'd like you to explain what you believe are your responsibilities to your specific district and then to our community at large. Understanding that there is concern amongst many citizens about the years of decline in the Northeast, downtown, and midtown areas. What ideas do you have to reverse this so that the Northeast, downtown, and midtown are more livable and desirable to live and work in?
Eleanor, your comments.
I'm sorry. Okay, that's a tough one for me because I'd have to look at it to give my observation, to find out what the issues are. It would be hard to come up with one easy answer to all the situations and the differences of opinion and that each individual person has. Each community has issues. Each community are satisfied with some things and not with others. So that would be how I would have to come up with a conclusion, and I'd have to look at it and give my observation on it.
Okay. Mike Kane, your response to the question.
Well, I would continue to represent this district the same way I have for the last 16 years. I ran on pro-growth and I would continue to run on pro-growth. But you have to remember I was raised in the urban core, and in fact, my mother-in-law still lives down there. And one of the things that I've done consistently is work with my fellow commissioners to address the issues in each one of their areas. 99% of the time, I follow their lead. And when we were talking earlier, Eleanor, about the 600 people who were at that meeting, one of the things that we have to do is we have to listen to those 600 people. You know, we have to do things. When we have these meetings, don't have a meeting to have a meeting, have a meeting to resolve the issues. And that's what we need to do all across the board in all the districts. You know, what is very important? The closing of that pool was terrible. And I've already worked with staff to make sure that doesn't happen again next year. So I'm already doing what you're asking. I'm already sitting out there trying to make sure that this doesn't happen to our kids again. And I've done this the whole time. I get multiple calls from multiple districts saying, hey, can you help me with something? And I've done that for the 16 years. I want to continue to do it another term. But it is important that when the people say we need something, then let's try to provide something. You know, and not, it's just like the land bank. All the Wyandotte County should be able to buy that first before anyone else comes in and buys it. I mean, that's ridiculous to have somebody from the outside come in there and buy property from us who's lived right next to it for how many years, taking care of the property for how many years. And what people don't realize, we all have to do this together. And if we don't listen to the people, then you have the pointing of the fingers. And I'm telling you, I'm listening the best I can.
Chuck Stites, your response to the question.
Thank you, Merle. First off, the responsibility to my district, and thank you, JD, for the question. It's to be a strong voice for District 7. We have got to have someone that's going to fight for District 7. They've got to be in attendance. They have to be aware of what's going on in those 3 cities. Now, I do know that District 7 is a little bit different than the other districts. It's because it has multiple cities in it. And you, as a commissioner, you do, as just like Commissioner Kane said, you have to work well with the other commissioners because you're not only representing District 7. You'll be representing all districts throughout Wyandotte County. You'll be voting on key issues. And I think that what is very important is that we listen to what people are saying in those areas because they live there. They know what's going on. Work with those commissioners that are in that area that have boots on the ground knowledge of what's going on. And we have to take what they say, and we have to use that information that we gathered and make well-informed decisions on how we addressed the issues at hand. I will tell you, I totally agree with the property being bought from the land bank. When I was in community policing for 7 years at the police department, one of the things that we had went out and we would do is we want the people on those lots that are next to them, that the grass has grown up and have fallen in disrepair, where the county has to take on the burden of going out and mowing and taking care of that property. You know what? It's better to have those folks that live next door to there, get those back on the tax roll, and it not be a burden on the city. And it lets them have something, a larger yard, a play area for their kids. So I'm all for the property not being blocked and allowing outside developers coming in. If we can allow our own citizens of Wyandotte County, I think that's the most important thing. Thank you.
Jim Walter, your response.
Sure. First, responsibility to District 7. I get this question a lot. What does the UG do for us? And it is difficult to explain to people who just have a casual familiarity with local government the difference between city councils and the unified government. Tyrone Gardner in his presentation said the people of Bonner Springs are mad about taxes. Well, I guess I would consider myself in that category a little bit, but the taxes in Bonner Springs and Edwardsville are set by the Bonner Springs and Edwardsville City Council more than the unified government. The unified government has a very small portion of the real estate tax. So getting those kinds of informations to the residents is important. The quiet zone that I mentioned earlier is the biggest example I can find of getting payback or contribution from the entire county to help District 7. The entire county is paying for that quiet zone. The residents of Bonner and the residents of Edwardsville are only paying 3 or 4% each. So that's a tangible benefit. So that is one of the things you have to do, is you represent your district and you try to make sure that things are happening in the district provided by the UG that are beneficial to the district. But we all have county-wide issues, and one district can't prosper while the rest of the districts do not. And I believe we are making progress in the eastern half of the county. Housing starts are greatly increased just in the past 6 months, and industrial development and commercial development is increasing also. So those are the responsibilities of the commission, not only to represent your district, but to elevate the entire county. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll go to Eleanor Jefferson for the next question. And we'll start with Jim Walters. Eleanor?
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon. Well, I tell you, just on your own, you've answered a lot of the questions that I had and that I've come to this forum with. And so along that line, everyone has answered the question about your in-district responsibilities first, and then the responsibilities to the rest of the county. And I've never sat on the commission, so I'm just guessing that this can be a very difficult position in voting on something that affects a district other than yours. And when you perhaps do not agree with the in-district commissioner, or you have something perhaps that has not been considered. So on that scope, how would you, well, what suggestions do you have? Here we go. What suggestions do you have to elevate your knowledge, and then consequently elevate our knowledge? What suggestions do you have to elevate your knowledge on issues, let's just use the Northeast, that are important to the Northeast, such as the after effect of redlining, what that has done to the mental state and the ability of people to break out of a loop of not being able to have the right kind of jobs. How do you elevate your, how do you improve your knowledge of the current events and situations that will make your vote more meaningful, and maybe even your discussion with your fellow commissioners?
Yeah, well, good question. And actually, this COVID thing has made all of those discussions much more difficult. We're here on Zoom tonight instead of in person, and it's a little bit of a poor substitute, but the answer to your question is communication. And I have a very good relationship with Gail Townsend. I've talked to Gail probably more than any other commissioner. And it's interesting because we are sort of the exact opposite corners of the county. So things are different in Bonner Springs and Edwardsville than they are in District 1. But that's the answer, is communication. And the issues are not, these are universal issues. There are areas of lack of opportunity in every big city and every aging city. And it's not like we have to figure out how to do things starting from scratch. We have a lot of examples in other cities who have done progressive proposals that can allow people to recover. I said in my introduction, I am firm believer in a rising tide raises all boats. And I believe that's the way we should look at it. We need jobs. We're providing jobs. We need investment. We need better jobs. We need tax relief. I believe those are the long-term approaches to solving those problems.
Chuck Stites, your remarks.
Eleanor, thanks for the question. First off, what I would like to say is that COVID has made meetings difficult, but it's very easy to pick up a phone, and that's what I'll do, continue to do. Reach out to the commissioners that are in that area, work with them. And like I said in my previous answer, and Eleanor, you pointed it out, that that your answers were or the question was already answered. We have to listen to the people that are in that area, the boots on the ground, the people that are there. Gather the information, listen to the experts as to what the commissioner that's in that district. We got to reach out to not just one, but all commissioners, because it takes all the commissioners and their ideas and their thoughts on how we raise this ship. And I just think that we have to just make sure that we are listening, taking the input of the people, give the voice to the people in that area, see what's needed, and figure out a way that we make those things work. Thank you.
Commissioner Kane, your comments.
Thank you. And for the whole 16 years, I had the book brought to my house. I look at the book. If I have a question about a project in any of the districts, I drive by. I call the commissioner and say, what do you got? Or they'll call me and say, hey, I need a little help. And when I said 99% of the time, I did not vote to close that fire station. And in fact, I'm trying to find funding to reopen that fire station. But it's our responsibility to work with the other commissioners to say, what do you need in your area and how can we get that done? And you're right, COVID's been a little bit of a mess, but it's just a phone call away. I did that when Nathan was down there with Butch and everyone else, from way back, to say, hey, what do you need? And I know some of them laugh at me for driving by. Well, it's not in my district, but I want to be able to look and say, all right, I saw that. I know what the ground looks like. I know what the area looks like. I know this will be an improvement or not an improvement. So I have knowledge when I get to the time to vote that I say, all right, and you all know I'm vocal. I will say, all right, what do you got? And here we are. And if I disagree with them, I will tell them, hey, I'm struggling here. Help me help you. So it's important that all of us work together because it's not easy. I think a lot of people think these jobs are just pieces of cake. And I was on my way home last night and I got a phone call from 3 neighbors. And they say, we want to see you right now. I'm, oh boy. And when I went over there, what was really funny was the issue wasn't that big, but they didn't think I'd come over there. And I said, look, I'm coming home and there's 3 of you standing on the curb. I got to see you. I got to go do that. And it's important to go see the people. And I've told you guys this 1,000 times. When you call me, you email me, you got an issue. My next door neighbor had an issue yesterday. So I had the city come out and look at it, you know, and say, woo, because he just bought the house. They have to see us out there. You know, it's taste, touch, and feel. And if they don't see us, and all we ever do is send somebody from staff, because when I go out there, I want staff with me to say, I want you to look at this. When can you fix it? And if you can't fix it, let's tell them you can't fix it, because you can't fix everything. But be supportive of your district and be supportive of others. And there are some times where you just, I can't do it. You know, and like I said, I'm going to use the fire station. I'm still disappointed in the fact that that got closed and there were other ways to keep it open. And I'm going to harp on that until we get it back open. Thank you.
Eleanor Clark, your remarks.
Okay,
Eleanor?
this is my response, because this is the response that I had spent some time on. It's not necessarily since I have never sat on the commission, but I did pull together some information regarding the COVID. The COVID has impacted the financial standing of every Kansas citizen and every Wyandotte citizen. It should not be the business of the government to pick individual constituents as winners and losers with COVID funding that is actually just money borrowed by the federal government in the name of each legal U.S. citizen. If I had been in charge of the COVID funds in Kansas, I would have divided the funding by the total number of legal Kansas citizens and created vouchers for each legal citizen to use to pay income taxes, pay property taxes, pay for vehicle registration taxes, pay for utilities, pay for publicly funded health care, or pay for any other public expenses. That is the fairest and most effective way I know to distribute those funds. Thank you.
Okay. Now we'll go to closing remarks, and candidates will have 1 minute, and we'll start with Eleanor. Your closing remarks, please.
So I want to thank you for watching this forum, and I hope you are better informed about who you want to represent you as District 5 County Commissioner for the next 4 years. I respect my opponent's long-term community service. I compliment him on being a politician that returns phone calls. He is very popular, and it seems everyone who works for a union or the city has his sign in their yard. They are his constituents, and he has rightly delivered them millions of dollars in wages and benefits. My campaign also supports fair wages and benefits for union and city employees, but also seeks to right-size the city administration to provide the long-promised tax reductions to thousands of hard-working Kansas City citizens, retirees, and widows like myself who are barely getting by under crushing taxes. If you agree with me that our taxes are too high, I am Eleanor Morales Clark, and I would appreciate your vote on November 2nd. Thank you.
Commissioner Kane, your closing remarks.
I am a member of the union, and I'm the president of Tri-County Labor, and I've been a union member since 1975. I'm very proud of that. I've been a union rep since 1983 and held office ever since. You know, a commissioner has to have a footprint of where they've been and what they've done. And one of the very first things we worked on at 78th and State, where you got a new mall back there and took out some of that blight. Then we widened 78th Street, you know, the new development at 110th and parallel with the Walmart, Starbucks, Sam's Wholesale Club. all stuff that brings not just the people out west, but the people from the east side come out there to do their shopping. And one of the things I'm consistent, and very few people know, that I've worked closely with most of the school districts, including my old high school, Bishop Ford High School, where they needed a funding need one time. They needed to raise $162,000. I failed them miserably because I only raised them $180,000. I've worked so closely with the Piper School District, they named a community center after my mom. That's one of the most proudest things I've ever done. And then there's a fire station. Now, it only took 5 years to build a fire station. And JD, I wish you would have asked that question. But it took 5 years to build that fire station. But it was much needed fire station. And it took me 13 years to get the commission to vote on that. So I'm persistent. And yes, there are a lot of yard signs out there. And I appreciate that, because I've tried to work with my constituents as best I can, and I plan on doing that for the next 4 years. So please vote again for Mike Kane, November 2nd.
Chuck Stites, your closing remarks.
Yes, sir. All right, Merle. Thank you guys again for hosting this event. I appreciate it. Thank you for the sponsors and the participants. And thank you to all that have decided to represent at the county commission level. It's a job, and I respect each and every one of you. I will say this. My home is in Wyandotte County, and I am dedicated to making a positive difference in our community. I will continue to be an active member in attending meetings, working on key issues for District 7 as whatever comes in front of them. I think that the reason that we are asked in District 7 is what do we get for our county taxes is because I'm asking the same thing. And I will tell you, the majority, not the minority of our taxes of our personal property taxes is at the county level. A city can reduce their mill levy. Bonner Springs can reduce their mill levy. Edwardsville can reduce their mill levy, but it's the county is where we are getting killed. District 7 has been nothing more than a cash cow for the unified government. And it is time for somebody to stand up and answer the question, here's what you are getting for your taxes, your county taxes. We've done a great job at reducing the city tax, but we need to start doing it at the county level. And I don't think that we've seen that in the last, 8 years, but I guarantee you we can start working on it to figure out how we get it done in the next 4 years. I will attend city council meetings with both Bonner Springs and Edwardsville. I have a 98% attendance record. I don't miss meetings. You have to be engaged with the city management of Edwardsville and Bonner to know what's going on and what their needs are. I will interact with all citizens of Bonner Springs and Edwardsville. I'm reachable. You can contact me night and day. I will reach back out to you as soon as I possibly can. Again, I want to say thank you for your consideration. You can reach me at Chuck Stites cstites@gmail.com or on Facebook at Chuck Stites for District 7 Commissioner. My phone number is 913-687-5616. Thank you.
Jim Walters, your closing remarks.
Thank you, Merle, and thank you for this opportunity. I believe the choice in District 7 is clear in this election. You on this call, I think, know my track record from my 8 years of service on the commission. I believe I've demonstrated an open-mindedness during my tenure and a commitment to represent all residents of Wyandotte County. I will not forfeit my vote to any special interest. That said, I support public safety and I hope at some point everybody in this county will be able to support public safety. I support unions and their right to collective bargaining. Your commissioner needs to represent all residents. Commissioners are elected for a reason, and I will not forfeit my vote to any special interest. Wyandotte County, I believe, is going in a good direction. We have record investment, homes are being built, jobs are being created, The population of our county is increasing. As I said, we have work to do on taxes, and I want to continue to lead that effort of reducing the mill levy. The county mill levy in Bonner and Edwardsville is about 22 or 23% of the overall tax. But it still is an important part, and we can look to get the most for our money. This is not a time to go backward. I want to continue the positive direction and ask for your vote this November. Thank you.